and welcome back to my channel. My name is Erica. Today we're going to be talking all about Creative Grids rulers. So if you're like me, when I first started quilting, I just wanted to get the basic supplies, something that was going to last me a long time, and I wanted to get something that was going to be really functional and usable and not something I was going to be struggling with. And so I did go through several different brands of rulers to get to where I am now with the Creative Grids rulers. So these are by far my favorite types of rulers, and I can go over a few different ones. If you like, let me know in the comments below and I'll do some reviews for those. But today I really just want to talk about the Creative Grid ones because they are my favorite rulers. So I'm going to tell you exactly why I like these, and hopefully that is going to help some of you guys out. So let's take a closer look at these rulers. So here are some of my favorites. These are kind of my 4 top picks for you, and I'm going to go through each one of them individually and tell you why I love them. So my first pick, and if I had to just buy one, this would be my first ruler that I would recommend. It's the 6.5 by 24.5 inch ruler. And the main reason that I love this ruler so much is that it is perfect for cutting yardage. So of course you can cut any kind of yardage you want on this, but you can also cut smaller pieces as well. So that makes this ruler really versatile. And then of course it's got the 6.5 inch width as well, which is a very common quilting size. So it's just a really good ruler to have on hand. The second one I would recommend is my 12.5 inch square ruler, and I really love this ruler because it makes squaring up my blocks super easy. Of course, you can square up any block that is 12.5 inches square or smaller, so you can use any of those sizes on there you want, but 12.5 is just a standard ruler size, and so it makes it really nice and useful. My next one is probably my 6.5 inch square because, again, 6.5 inch squares are a very common quilting size. It's also a little bit smaller, so instead of messing around with a really large ruler when I'm cutting small pieces, I will always grab this 6.5 inch square ruler. Of course, I love all my square rulers, and I would recommend really any of the sizes. They just make cutting super easy. And then my other favorite is my 6.5 inch by 12.5 inch ruler here, and that one's just nice because you can cut a little bit of a longer piece, but you can also cut smaller ones. Again, a lot of times I'll be putting 2 6.5 inch squares together to make a 12.5 inch square, and so that's just kind of handy for trimming. So those are probably my top 4 picks. Let's talk about how I'm going to use these rulers and why I love them so much. So I grabbed a white sheet of paper, so hopefully you can see the lines on here, but the lines on these Creative Grid rulers are my all-time favorites. They are super thin, very easy to see, and one of the sides has these full, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then if you turn it over, it's got the ½ inches, and that just makes life a lot easier when you're trimming. So again, you can have it either whole numbers or halves. And that just makes it a lot easier when you're trimming. And I just feel like having these lines be so nice and crisp also really helps out. When I first started quilting, I had a different brand and the lines were actually kind of thicker. And honestly, I wasn't sure if I was supposed to put the fabric on the inside of the line, right in the center of it, or right on the right side. And when you're quilting, it was almost a 1/8 inch difference, which can make a big deal if you have a lot of little pieces. So I really appreciate the thinner lines on these Creative Grids rulers. Another feature that they have on the back are these little non-slip discs on them, and I'm not sure if you can see them or if the camera is picking them up, but they're basically just like a little rough patch on the back that will help these rulers from sliding around on your fabric when you're trying to cut, which is really helpful. If you have rulers that don't have those, you can buy them. They're little stickers and you can just put them on the backs. I highly suggest that because otherwise you'll find that these acrylic rulers are very slippery and they'll just slip all over your fabric and then you won't get straight cuts. So aside from the non-stick dots, they also have non-stick all the way around the outside edges. And again, you may not be able to see this, but these 2 edges have non-stick on the ½ inch line, and then these 2 edges actually have it on the 1/4 inch line. And so visually that helps me see where my half and quarters are if I'm trying to trim up something in that respect. So I think all of those features combined are super helpful. One other feature, and I did not know about this until gosh, just recently, but I did want to point it out to you because it's so helpful and I don't know how I didn't notice it before. But the Creative Grid rulers also have center marks on them. So aside from these black lines on them, they have a diagonal, which is a 45-degree diagonal line, which is super helpful when you're trimming up half square triangles. But they also have these white lines that run right in the center of the ruler, and then there's a little white circle right here in the middle so that you can tell exactly where the center of your block is. And that's really helpful when you're trimming because you're always going to have your extra 1/4 inch around any of your blocks, but sometimes you really just need to make sure that that block is squared up. And so using those white lines in the center of the ruler definitely a game changer. So let's take a look about how I would line this up on my fabric. So here is a nice piece of high contrast fabric. I'm going to lay my ruler right along this line. And let's zoom in so you can really see that. This black line really can get right on the very edge of my fabric, and it makes it really easy for me to see where to cut. And then I'm just gonna line my rotary trimmer right along the edge and slice. Now to cut, you're simply going to place your ruler wherever you would like it. You're gonna open up your trimmer, and then I run my blade right along the edge of my ruler here. So it's literally butted up against the edge of my ruler, and then you can make your cut. Now, one thing that I don't typically do is try and turn it this way, because sometimes you can get your hit this blue part. So this is considered the back side of your blade, so you don't really want to do that. So I always have the front side of my blade placing towards my ruler. And if you're left-handed, you would simply do it the same way. Again, turning the blade towards your ruler and cutting this way. And there you go. And say I want to square up a block, I'll simply line up those edges. See how nice and clean they are right along the corner of my fabric there. And then I can just simply cut one side and the other. And then we have a perfect 1.5 inch square. So that's it, guys. That is my thoughts on the Creative Grids rulers. I love these rulers for all the reasons mentioned in this video. They're just super clear, crisp. I can really see what I'm doing. Plus they've got that anti-slip on the back, which is awesome and a game changer. And so these are my favorite rulers, but I'd like to know what yours are as well. So leave a comment below letting me know what your favorite rulers are and why. That way we can kind of help each other out as a quilting community. I hope you found this video helpful. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, please make sure to thumbs up and subscribe. That way I know to keep making them for you. Thanks for joining me today, and I will see you next time.